Sure, as much as anyone.
Seriously ill?
Sometime.
Of what? Do you know?
In prehistory, I can't tell you. Maybe pneumonia once or twice. Last few hundred years, I've gotten over typhoid, yellow fever, smallpox. I survived the Black Plague.
Bubonic? Well, that's terrible.
More so than history describes.
And smallpox. But you're not scarred.
I don't scar.
No, John, that is not possible.
Yeah, please, let's take John's story at face value and explore it from that perspective. If he doesn't scar, it's no stranger than the rest of it.
John, would you please stop by my lab before you take off? Just offer a few tests from your friendly neighborhood biologist.
I'm leery of labs. Afraid I might go in and stay for 1,000 years while cigarette-smoking men try to figure me out.
You don't think that I would betray you in any way?
No, walls have ears.
Medical tests might be a way of proving what you say.
I don't want to prove it.
So you're telling us this, the yarn of the century, and you don't care if we believe it or not?
I guess I shouldn't have expected you to. You're not as crazy as you think I am.
Amen.
I've always liked you.
Well, thank you, dear.
Well, that's changing.
Oh, surely you don't believe this nonsense.
I think we should remain courteous to someone who we've known and trusted, Edith.
Here you sit. You can't break his story. All you can do is thumb your nose at it.
Is that what you're doing, John? Are you laughing at us inside?
I wish you didn't feel that way.
Well, what you're saying, it offends common sense.
So does relativity. Quantum mechanics. That's the way nature works.
But your story doesn't fit into nature as we know it.
But we know so little, Dan. We know so little. I mean, how many of you know 5 geniuses in your field that you disagree with? One you would like to strangle.
Strangle them all.
Damn it, Dan. It's bad enough we have to listen to Harry's idiotic jokes.
Thank you very much, Edith. Maybe when I'm 110, I'll be as smart as you are.
If you lived as long as John did, you still wouldn't grow up.
Oh, come on, guys, take it easy. How often do we get to meet someone who says he's a Stone Age man?
Well, once is enough.
Edith.
All right, a guy with your mind, you'd have studied a great deal.
I have 10 degrees, including all of yours. Except yours, Will.
That makes me feel a trifle Lilliputian.
That's over the span of 170 years. I got my biology degree at Oxford in 1840. So I'm a little behind the times. The same in other areas. I can't keep up with the new stuff that comes along. No one can. Not even in their specialty.
So much for the myth of the super-wise, all-knowing immortal.
I see your point, John. No matter how long a man lives, he can't be in advance of his times. He can't know more than the best of the race knows. If that. I mean, when the world learned it was round, you learned it.
It took some time. News traveled slowly before communications were fancy. There were social obstacles, preconceptions, screams from the church.
10 doctorates. That's impressive, John. Did you teach them?
Some. But you might have all done the same. Living 14,000 years didn't make me a genius. I just had time.
Time. We can't see it, we can't hear it, we can't weigh it, we can't measure it in a laboratory. It's our subjective sense of becoming what we are. Instead of what we were a nanosecond ago, becoming what we will be in another nanosecond. The whole BC time is a landscape existing before and behind us, and we move through it, slice by slice.
Clocks measure time.
Oh, they measure themselves. The objective referent of a clock is another clock.
That's very interesting. What has it got to do with John?
Oh, he might be a man who lives outside of time as we know it.
Yes, well, people do go around armed these days. If I shot you, John, you're immortal? Would you survive this?
I never said I was immortal, just old. I might die. And then you could wonder the rest of your incarcerated life what you shot.
Oh, may I?
Preferable to a gun.
Well, that was a bit much.
Ooh. Books? Doctorates? Yes, you have grown and changed. But there is always innate nature. Wouldn't you be more comfortable squatting in the backyard?
Sometimes I do, Will. Look up at the stars, wonder.
And what did primitive man make of them?
A great mystery. There were gods up there that shamans who knew about them told us.
They still do.
Have you ever wished it would end?
No.
14,000 years. Injuries, illness, disasters. You've survived them all. You're a very lucky man.
Come in.
John Oldman?
Yes.
Charity now. We're here to pick up the furniture.
It's all yours.
Here, take this chair. I'm gonna go drink in the corner.
You're donating it? Everything?
I'll get more.
Do you always travel this light?
It's the only way to move.
Oh, you've talked a good deal about your extraordinary amount of living. What do you think of dying, John? Do you fear death?
Who wouldn't?
How did primitive man regard death?
Well, we had the practical concept. Stopped, fell down, didn't get up. Started to smell bad, come apart. Injuries we could understand if someone's insides were all over the ground. Infections, they were mysterious. Aging, biggest mystery of all.
You realize you were different.
Longer to realize how I was different. To find a way to synthesize my experience into a view of myself. At first I thought everybody had something wrong with them. They got old, they died. Animals too. But not me.
Oh, forgive me, my dear. You live simply.
Well, I've owned castles, but why leave a lot if you're always leaving? I have money.
What'd you get into AT&T at 50 cents, John?
As one grows older, the days, weeks, months go by more quickly. Yet what does a day or a year or a century mean to you? The birth-death cycle.
Turbulence. I meet someone, learn a name, say a word, they're gone. Others come like waves, rise, fall. Ripples in a wheat field blown by the wind.
You ever get tired of it all?
I get bored now and then. They keep making the same stupid mistakes over and over.
Hey. Then you see yourself as separate from the rest of humanity.
I didn't mean it that way. But of course, I am.
Are you comfortable knowing that you have lived while everyone you knew, John, has died?
I've regretted losing people. Often.
Have you ever felt guilt about that? Something akin to survivor's guilt.
In the strict psychological sense? Suppose I have. Yeah. Well, what can I do about it?
Indeed.
I'm sorry, man.
Gentlemen, I'm going to keep the couch. Thanks. Ladies, Will?
Oh, no.
You've got a heart condition. Don't grump about it.
Hey, how about changing the subject? Well, enough with the dying.
But this is the flip side of his coin, Harry. I'm very curious to know his feelings. Would you prefer I asked him about his father?
I thought you always started with tell me about your mother.
Yes, but prehistory was strongly patriarchal. Surely you remember your father.
I seem to remember a figure. Perhaps an older brother, a social father, maybe.
Well, no matter. I could scarcely remember mine. Do you feel a vacancy in your life about that, John? Something you wish could be filled by a face, a voice, an image?
Not at this late date.
There must be someone, probably many, that you valued intensely, loved. You saw them age and die. A friend, a colleague, a wife. Certainly you've had wives and children.
I'd move on. I had to move on.
Making him history's biggest bigamist.
Have you ever in your life thought, it should have been me?
Maybe.
Your art has told me that some of your early fellows feared you were stealing their lives. Have you thought that perhaps you were? Perhaps you are. There have always been legends of such a thing, a creature, not quite human, taking not the blood, but the life force itself?
My God, Will.
Unconsciously, perhaps, by some biological or psychic mechanism that we can only guess at? I'm not saying you would do such a thing deliberately. I'm not saying that you would even know how to. Would you? But would such a thing be fair?
So you believe me then?
I'm only exploring what you have said. Whether I believe it or not is of no importance. We will die. You will live. Will you come to my funeral, John?
Hey, Will.
You've gone too far. John didn't ask to be what he is.
And we did not ask to hear about it. But if it were true, is there one among us who would not feel envy? Even perhaps a touch of hatred? You told us of yourself, John. Can you imagine how we feel?
I never thought of that.
Since you may not die, while we most assuredly will, there must be a reason for that, no? Perhaps you are an expert.
That's it, Mr. Oldman. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
Or are you a vampire, John? Even an unknowing one? Do you stand alive and tall in a graveyard that you helped to fill?
That's going too far.
Bored, perhaps lonely because your heart cannot keep its treasures. Is that what you're doing? Have you led a wrongful life? Well, then, perhaps it is time to die.
Oh, wait a minute. Now, look, I don't know what John is doing, but I sure as hell don't like what you're doing. Now, you give me that gun or I'm gonna break your goddamn arm.
Well, you sound like our football coach, Dan. What do you think, John? A shot to the arm? Perhaps we could watch it heal. A bullet in the head. What exactly will happen? I have papers to correct. As much as I dislike that job, it will be preferable to this. I leave you with it.
Jesus Christ. What the hell was that all about?
Where'd you get a gun?
We had you on the ropes, John. You're really so damn smart.
It's not like Will.
Mary passed away yesterday.
Who?
His wife. She had pancreatic cancer.
Will! I didn't know about Mary. I'm sorry. I can see how this might have hit you.
Please, permit me to be infantile by myself.
Will, please.
What the hell were you thinking, Art? Oh, come on. Something had to be done.
I have to say I agree.
And he's our friend. Whatever else on earth is going on, he's our friend.
You sure about that?
Why the hell are you being so hard on him, Edith?
One of my favorite people has disappeared. Can you get Alzheimer's at 35? Maybe I'm trying to wake him up. Maybe I'm too sad to cry.
What I said about myself hurt him. He struck back.
Expertly. That stuff about stealing life forces.
I've always wondered about the reasons.
Well, still have an afternoon to kill, right? Charades? No, John, I have a charade, and it is just for you. All right, Sandy, come here. No, come on. Okay, this one's for you. All right, ready?
My first wedding?
There you go. Very good, and I bet at least one of us
is your direct descendant.
And I'd even send a Christmas card.
Christmas card? What about a birthday card? And don't even get me started on the candles with the blowing and the... for years with the blowing. Yeah, all right, I tried.
Well, call me underdeveloped, but I'd like to hear more.
Me too.
More.
You double damn swear this isn't some cockamamie science fiction story you're pulling on us?
Next question.
You realize this is an invitation to men in white suits with happy pills.
Well, think about it. A mechanism allowing survival for thousands of years?
Run out of room even faster.
Well, then we'd have to go to Mars as a colony, as we expand it, as we'd have to.
I'd like that. On a planet of another star.
I envy you.
Did he have a pet dinosaur?
They were a little bit before my time.
At least something is.
I doubt you could give us 1,000 details, John, corroborating your story. From the Madeleine to the Buddha to now.
10,000. And you could say out of the books.
It's getting chilly.
Here, over here, join me.
Well, that raises an interesting question, John. Could there be others like you who escaped the aging process as you have?
Representing something terrific we don't even know about biology.
Learning all the time.
Yeah, but how would he know? He doesn't wear an armband and an ID badge saying yabba dabba doo.
There was a man in the 1600s that I met.
Where were you in 1292 AD?
Where were you a year ago on this date? Anyway, the 1600s, I met a man and I had a hunch that he was like me, so I told him.
Ah! See, you said this was a first.
I forgot.
A crack in your story, John.
A touch of senility. Anyway, he said yes, but from another time, another place. We talked for 2 days. It was all pretty convincing, but we couldn't be sure. We each confirmed what the other said, but how did we know if the confirmation was genuine or an echo? I knew I was kosher, but I thought, maybe he's playing a game on me. You know, a scholar of all we spoke about. He said he was inclined to the same reservation.
Oh, that's interesting. Just as we can never be sure, even if we wanted to. I mean, if we were sure, you couldn't be sure of that.
We parted, agreeing to keep in touch. Of course, we didn't. And 200 years later, I thought I saw him at a train station in Brussels. Lost him in the crowd.
Oh, what a shame. I mean, if it were true.
Okay, here's one for you. What do you do in your spare time?
Every 50 years or so, when I want to get away from the rush, I go down to a primitive tribe in New Guinea where I'm worshipped as an immortal god. They have a huge statue of me. It's a big party. Yeah, I've got a lot of pictures of it, but I've already packed them up. I'm sorry.
I won't make the obvious nasty crack about more unwashed cavemen.
Actually, bathing was the style into the Middle Ages, and the church told us it was sinful to wash away God's dirt. So people were sewn into their underwear in October, and they popped out in April.
You said you just happened. I don't believe that. If your story's true, why did God allow you to have them?
That makes an interesting point. Are you religious, John?
I don't follow a known religion, no.
Ever?
Long time ago I did. Like most people. Some just never get over it.
Do you believe in God?
As Laplace said, I have no need of that hypothesis. He may be around, though.
He's everywhere. We just can't see him.
This was the best I could do. I'd be hiding, too.
And creation.
It's here. I'm not so sure it was created.
What then?
Maybe it's just accumulated fields affecting fields.
What about the source of the field energies? Wouldn't that imply a prime mover?
I'd wonder about the source of the prime mover, infinite regress, but that doesn't imply anything to me. Back to the mystery.
It's a very old question, but there's no answer except in religious terms. If you have faith, it's answered.
Did you ever meet any person from our religious history? A biblical figure?
In a way.
Who?
We should skip this one.
No, skip it. Come on.
Next question.
No, come on.
Come on, John. You can't let this go.
Come on, spit it out.
Good Lord, you were one of them.
This is going in a direction that I didn't expect. I hoped it wouldn't. We call it a night.
Come on. You were someone in religious history?
Yes.
In the Bible?
Yes.
Someone we know?
How could we not know someone in the Bible?
I mean, somebody important.
Well, you may think you know him, but it's mostly myth.
The entire Bible is mostly myth and allegory with maybe some basis in historical events. You were part of that history?
Moses.
Moses was based on Mysis, a Syrian myth. And there are earlier versions, all found floating on water. A staff that changed to a snake. Waters that were parted so followers could be led to freedom and even receive laws on stone or wooden tablets.
One of the apostles.
They weren't really apostles. They didn't do any real teaching. Peter the fisherman learned a little more about fishing.
How do you know that?
The mythical overlay is so enormous and not good. The truth is so simple. The New Testament in 100 words or less. You ready?
I don't think I want to hear this, Harry. Will you take me home?
No, not right now. I do want to hear this.
Sit down, Edith. You act like you believe him.
It's sacrilege.
How can it be sacrilege? He hasn't said anything yet.
The New Testament is sacrilege.
There have been a dozen New Testaments, from Hebrew to Greek to Latin to Tyndale, all the way to King James. All revisionist and all called revealed truth.
I mean, a New Testament in 100 words.
I can give you the 10 Commandments in 10 words. Don't. Don't. Don't.
Don't. The commandments are just modern updates of more ancient laws, Hammurabi's code.
That's right. And they weren't the first, right? Edith, I was raised on the Torah, my wife in the Quran. My oldest son is an atheist. My youngest is a Scientologist. My daughter is studying Hinduism. I imagine that there is room there for a holy war in my living room. But we practice live and let live. Why don't you sit down? What is your preferred version of the Bible?
The King James, of course. It's the most modern, the work of great scholars.
Modern is good.
All right, John, hit us with the short form.
Guy met the Buddha, liked what he heard, thought about it for a while. Say 500 years while he returned to the Mediterranean. Became an Etruscan, seeped into the Roman Empire. He didn't like what they became, a giant killing machine. He went to the Near East thinking, why not pass the Buddha's teachings on in a modern form? So he tried. One dissident against Rome. Rome won. The rest is history. Well, sort of. A lot of fairy tales mixed in.
I knew it. He's saying he was Christ.
Oh, no. That's the medal they pinned on Jesus to fulfill prophecy.
The crucifixion.
He blocked the pain, as he had learned to do in Tibet and India. He also learned to slow his body processes down to the point where they were undetectable. They thought he was dead. So his followers pulled him from the cross, placed him in a cave. His body normalized as he had trained it to. He attempted to go away undetected, but some devotees were standing watch. He tried to explain. They were ecstatic. Thus I was resurrected, and I ascended to Central Europe to get away as far as possible.
You don't mean a word of this, John. My God, why are you doing this?
Let me see your wrists.
I don't scar. Besides, they tied me. But nails and blood make better religious art.
All the speculations about Jesus. He was black, he was Asian, he was a blue-eyed Aryan with a golden beard and hair straight out of Vidal Sassoon's. He was a benevolent alien. He never existed at all. Now he's a caveman.
The Christ figure goes all the way back to Krishna. Hercules, of course.
Hercules?
Born of a virgin, Alcmene. A god for a father, Zeus. The only begotten. Savior, the Greek, Soter. The good shepherd, the Prince of Peace, bringing gentle persuasion and divine wisdom. He died, joined his father on Olympus 1,000 years before Gethsemane.
How can you compare pagan mythology to the true word?
Pretty damn closely, I'd say.
The early Christian leaders, they threw away Hebrew manuscripts and borrowed from pagan sources all over the place.
Do you realize how inconsiderately you're treating my feelings?
Yeah, about as inconsiderately as we're treating John's.
Well, he doesn't believe what he's saying.
Do you believe literally everything in the Bible, Edith?
Yes. No, before you say it, I know it's undergone a lot of changes, but God has spoken through man to make his word clearer.
He couldn't get it right the first time?
We're imperfect. He had to work to make us understand.
You couldn't get us right the first time, Edith?
Taken alone, the philosophical teachings of Jesus are Buddhism with a Hebrew accent. Kindness, tolerance, brotherhood, love, a ruthless realism acknowledging that life is as it is, here on earth, here and now. The kingdom of God, meaning goodness, is right here, where it should be. I am what I am becoming. That's where the Buddha brought it.
And that's what I taught. But a talking snake made a lady eat an apple, so we're screwed. Heaven and hell were peddled so priests could rule through seduction and terror, save our souls that we never lost in the first place. I threw a clean pass. They ran it out of the ballpark.
This is blasphemy. It's horrible. Who else were you? Solomon, Elvis, Jack the Ripper?
It's been said that Buddha and Jesus would laugh or cry if they'd known what was done in their name.
And if there is a creator, probably feel the same way.
I see ceremony, ritual, processions, genuflecting, moaning, intoning, venerating cookies and wine. And I think it's not what I had in mind.
That's Vatican flapdoodle. It doesn't have a thing to do with God.
As you said, John, everywhere religions, from exalting life to purging joy as a sin. Rome does it as grand opera. A simple path to goodness needs a supernatural roadmap.
Supernatural.
A stupid word. I mean, anything that happens within nature, whether we believe it or not.
Like a 14,000-year-old caveman.
I drove for a while, and then I sat for a while. I'm so ashamed. And I'm freezing.
Well, come inside.
I still don't believe you, of course. You need help.
Everybody needs help.
Yes, well, some more than others. From the Buddha to the cross. Buddha to the cross. I have always imagined both as entirely mythic. Yeah, but I would like to hear more. May I lie on the couch for a moment? I'm not as young as I used to be. Oh! So, you were Jesus. Well, perhaps somebody had to be, for better or for worse. The jury is still out. When did you begin to believe you were Jesus?
When did you begin to believe you were a psychiatrist?
Since I graduated Harvard Medical School and finished my residency, I've had that feeling. Well, I sometimes dream about it.
Have you acted upon this belief?
I had a private practice for a while, and then I taught. Nothing unusual. Until one day I met a caveman who thought he was Jesus.
Do you find that unusual?
Very. I would stake my reputation he is as sane as I am. So why does he persist in such a story?
There must be a reason, no?
Unless I imagined it all? Is that possible?
I think you're as sane as he is.
Oh, God. No. Did you ever find it prudent to worship yourself rather than be thought a heretic? That would be something.
At the times Christianity was considered heresy, I had to pretend other faiths.
And what does Jesus have to say to those present who find it difficult to believe in him?
Believe in what he tried to teach, without rigmarole. Piety is not what the lessons bring to people, it's the mistake they bring to the lessons. Well, it's getting to be night. still have stuff to carry. A long drive.
I'll help.
John, do you have a destination in mind? Never mind. I won't ask.
Thank you.